Let's face it, talking about death is not a ton of fun, but it's a reality we all must plan ahead for. And cremation is growing as a trend nationally. I had a fascinating conversation with Chris Tharp, the president and owner of Tharp Funeral Home and Crematory, about why more and more people are choosing cremation. Take a look.
On October 17th here in Lynchburg, we're giving a tour of our crematory and talking entirely about the cremation process. Then we're having another one in Bedford on October 22nd. Our emphasis as a family-owned business has always been, and if this is something I think that sets us apart, we really want to give information to the community. Death and funerals and cremations are not a topic that most folks really even want to talk about, but the fact is they need to. The proposition is not an if proposition. We're all going to go at some point. And the more information we have, the better decisions we're going to be able to make for our families. So that's why we do the tours. Our doors are always open. Families come in. We give them tours of the facility, explain the process of cremation to them so that they can have good information to make good decisions.
And the trend really seems to be cremation, doesn't it?
That's right. Tharp Funeral Home, we opened the first funeral home-owned crematory in Virginia back in 1983 at our Bedford location. And we do maintain fully functional crematories in each of our locations because it's important for families to be able to come in and see, this is where my dad is going to be, this is what the process is. We're not putting your father in a vehicle and taking him somewhere else. He's going to stay here under our care and supervision for the entire process. But back in 1983 when we opened our first crematory, cremation rate was around 2%. Last year in Lynchburg and in this region, Lynchburg, Bedford together, the cremation rate was 36%. By 2040, the cremation rate nationally is going to be over 51%. So this is the fastest growing form of disposition for families. More and more families are choosing it, many because of the expense savings. Cremation services typically cost half of what burial services cost, and that's an important distinction for some families, certainly, and they appreciate the cost savings there. But more than anything, I think that what I'm seeing families appreciate about cremation is the flexibility that they can have. A traditional burial service, there's a timeline that has to be adhered to for the most part, meaning if a person passes away on Wednesday, most likely they need to have that funeral, Friday or Saturday at the latest in most cases. Well, with cremation, there's no end date. They can have a lot more flexibility. They can wait and do the memorial service when all the family comes in for the holiday. It just gives family more flexibility as far as when they're going to have their services. Additionally, there's a number of items like keepsake urns and scattering urns where folks can really get a little more interactive in what's going to happen with their remains. We see this a lot with folks that are coming in making their pre-arrangements. They leave specific instructions for the kids. This is what I want done with my cremated remains. I want you to go out to the golf course and scatter them here, or I want you to go down to the beach or the lake or wherever it might be. And that I have found to be very therapeutic for families. They're able to participate in the cremation service in a way that they haven't been able to in some of the burial services, and that is healing for the family. So we're proud of that.
And you even have things like necklaces, and there's a necklace too where you can actually put the thumbprint of the lost one into, and another necklace where you can actually wear some of the ashes. I mean, this is therapeutic. I could see that.
That's right. And again, each family is individual in what suits them and what their wishes are, but at least they have the options here that they didn't have with some of the more traditional arrangements. And again, some folks, they don't want that, and that's not their choice, but at least it's there. And for those that, for example, want to carry a little bit of their husband or wife with them next to their heart forever, they can do that.
I like that idea. And just because somebody's cremated doesn't mean they don't have to get buried. I mean, you have options for that as well.
Oh, that's right. And again, a situation that we're seeing a lot here in the Lynchburg and Bedford areas is folks have purchased cemetery property, but then they've changed their mind and decided, well, I want to be cremated. They can still use that cemetery space to have their urn buried there, and that provides a place for the family to come back to in the future on Mother's Day or on a birthday and remember that person, so they can still use it.
And a chance we have today is we're going to go behind the scenes and actually look where Mom and Dad end up. Chris, here at Tharp, you have a very specific way you do things when it comes to cremations, don't you?
Absolutely. We're very proud that we're the only funeral home in the region that has crematories at each of our main locations. And what that means is people's loved ones, their family members, are going to remain under our care and supervision for the entire process, from the moment we pick them up at the hospital or at their home until we hand that urn back to the family. We have 3 people that their sole responsibility is to keep track of folks' identities and to make sure that we have done everything we can to give that family peace of mind to ensure to them that this is indeed their mom or their dad that we're giving back to them.
And that's a very good point, because it is that peace of mind and the thought of somebody being shipped out to another place. You know, you have that all here, and people are actually specifically trained in this, right?
That's exactly right. And again, this is something else that's specific just to Tharp. All of our crematory operators receive training in Florida from CANA, which is the Cremation Association of North America. We require that of our staff because we want, when families come in for a tour, we want to be able to make sure that they're ready to answer their questions, because just like what I'm doing with you today, we really believe in sharing information about this process. You know, this is not a topic that everyone necessarily wants to talk about, but for those that are interested in cremation, they need to know what it's about. They need to know what their choices are. They need to know how the process works to the degree that they're comfortable with that, so that they can make good decisions. And that's the reason that we do all the training we do, and that we have all the care that we give our families when they come in for that.
And if you're interested in attending one of the seminars, the one in Lynchburg is going on Thursday, October 17th from 5:30 to 6:15. You can just show up, but if you'd like more information, 434-237-9424. And also there is one going on Bridge Street in Bedford. More information about that one, 540-586-3443. And in general, for Tharp Funeral Home, you can always give them a call or check them out online at tharpfuneralhome.com.